Arkansas ignited a fire that is burning up transgender children. Healthcare for children has become a political wedge in our 2024 political environment. That's sad and scary. She's gonna be saying, hey, transgender children are also children, and children deserve health care. He's like, well, they don't deserve special rights just because they're trans. You're missing the point there, aren't you, if you're saying we need special rights? Nope, we need human rights. Hello, and thank you for joining me. This is a Trans Moment with Brandi Beckett. Today, we are looking at an article from NPR that was written by Selena Simmons Duffin and Hilary Fung. It was published on July 3rd of 2024. And this article is titled, "In just a few years, half of all states pass bans on trans health care for kids." Yeah, that's right. 25 states of the United States, of the 50 of us United States, 25 of the states have some sort of ban for health care for trans kids. This is alarming. It's not necessarily shocking in today's political fever climate that we live in 2024, but it is shocking that I should even bring up politics when I'm talking about children's health care. The health care of transgender children has become a political touchstone and hot topic in 2024. And actually, for the last few years, to be honest, but it's ramping up. Consider the following. When I discovered my gender identity and began my transition, so to speak, my pulling my gender identity from within me and expressing it. So changing that expression to more closely align with my gender identity, or what we call a transition. When I began my transition in 2015, there wasn't any laws against transgender children getting the health care they needed. I began my journey in Florida. I was in Florida in 2015, in Tampa. And I had to jump through a few hoops to get my medication, but I was able to do that. And since then, yeah. I mean, I'm an adult. I'm pretty sure if I lived in Florida, I might be able to get health care. I might. But as a child, you couldn't. And not just Florida, Arkansas, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, Oklahoma, Arizona, Utah, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Ohio, Kentucky, West Virginia, Indiana, Ohio. I already said Ohio, but they're trying to ban transgender people like harshly, so we'll mention them twice. Probably should mention Idaho twice too, and Georgia a few times, but there's so many states. Montana, North Dakota, Wyoming, Iowa, Nebraska, Missouri. All of these states have some sort of law that literally attacks transgender children, that makes it difficult, if not impossible, for them to get the health care treatment that they need. I'm an American citizen. Most likely, you listening to this, you're probably an American citizen. It is shocking to know that American citizens are denied health care treatments because of who they are. Should not be the case. Children, for adults, for anyone, regardless of your identity. My goodness. So, well, I guess let's get into this article a little bit. Here we go. The Supreme Court has agreed to consider a case from Tennessee in its next term that challenges the state's gender-affirming care ban for young people. Okay, so we're talking about a Tennessee law that was signed into bill in 2023, and it's been weaving its way through the courts. And it made it all the way to the Supreme Court in June of 2024, and the Supreme Court said, yeah, they're going to look at this ban on healthcare for transgender youth in Tennessee. And so that is on the docket. They will look at it this fall in their next session. So it could be good news and it could be frightening news. We're going to have to table that. But yeah, so things are heating up in healthcare for transgender children. Ooh, goodness. So in this article, they go on to quote Lindsay Dawson. Lindsay Dawson is the director for LGBTQ health policies at the health research organization KFF. KFF is formerly known as the Kaiser Family Foundation, and the Kaiser Family Foundation was founded in 1948 here in the United States, and it is a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization that looks at healthcare policies and how we're presenting such policies through American news outlets and organizations. So, most of the state bans have been challenged in court, Dawson notes. With 20 state bans currently in effect, we've seen split decisions in appeal courts, which is always an indication that an issue might be ripe for the Supreme Court. The details of the state bans vary, but the laws generally bar transgender minors from accessing puberty blockers, hormones, and surgeries. And they note that which is very rare for minors. Surgeries for minors to treat gender dysphoria is rare. It is very rare, and they have to jump through so many hoops just to get those surgeries. So, just a side note on that. But these bans are not necessarily addressing the surgeries. They're attacking all of the care for transgender youths. Specifically, they're going after puberty blockers. They're trying to make puberty blockers illegal for transgender children to access. And in 25 states, they are. Essentially, they are in 25 states. On the docket for the Supreme Court. The oral arguments in the Supreme Court will take place in the fall. Arguing on behalf of transgender Tennesseans before the justice will be U.S. Selector General Elizabeth Prologer. Defending the law will be Tennessee's Republican Attorney General Jonathan Scarmitti. I think, yeah, so Scarmitti is going to be the Republican trying to attack those transgender children and make sure they don't get any treatments they need. You trans children. He's the one going to be saying, yes, you should be banned from getting treatment. And we have Elizabeth Prologer, and I hope I'm saying her name close to right. Prologer, she's going to be saying, hey, transgender children are also children, and children deserve health care, and they deserve to have the rights of their cohorts. So, the gender-affirming care bans across the country, open quote, are creating profound uncertainties for transgender adolescents and their families around the nation and inflicting particularly acute harms in Tennessee and other states where the laws have been allowed to take effect. Close quote. Reads Prologer's request to the justice to take up the case. So yeah, Elizabeth's like, yo, children need help. We need to help them. And Skermiti is like, we fought hard to defend Tennessee's law protecting kids from irreversible gender treatments. I look forward to finishing the fight in the United States Supreme Court. This case will bring much needed clarity to whether the Constitution contains special protections for gender identity. Close quote. Okay, so he's like, well, they don't deserve special rights just because they're trans. And you're missing the point there, aren't you, if you're saying we need special rights? Nope. We need human rights. We need rights to our health care, just like our cohorts get rights to health care. And we need rights to our health care at all the ages. And not just at certain ages you get your health care needs taken care of. This is America. All of the states are America's states, right? We should have American values that take care of the healthcare needs of our people. Okay. All right, so they go on. What sparked all of these new laws restricting gender-affirming care? So, well, yeah, what did spark all of these laws? So Dawson, to quote Dawson, I can't point to specific internal event, unquote, said Dawson. But it's almost as if these policies were like wildfire. Once a handful had ignited them, other states followed suit. So I think what Dawson is saying, it's a political wildfire because this issue seems to be upheld by political lines, and it seems to be a political wedge. The health care for children has become a political wedge in our 2024 political environment. That's sad and scary. But yeah, this is clearly a political wildfire that is taken off, and it is one party that is attacking children and another party trying to pick up the pieces and trying to protect what they can. It is a challenging to protect such a wildfire. It has exploded. But starting July of 2021, Arkansas ignited a fire that is burning up transgender children. And since 2021, other states have just ignited it. All of these states, all 25 states from 2021 to 2024, 25 states have ignited an attack on the health care of transgender children, making it illegal for them to get medical help in expressing who they are. Medical help in treating gender dysphoria. All right, let's get back into this article here. Conservative groups like the Alliance Defending Freedom and the Heritage Foundation have encouraged state lawmakers to take up the issue. Quote, the experimental gender transition procedures foisted onto our children are often irreversible, close quote. ADF's Matt Sharp wrote last year. And not only are such drugs and procedures dangerous, but they are also experimental and unproven, unquote, says Matt Sharp from the Alliance Defending Freedom. And okay, so NPR in this article, they reached out to the Alliance Defending Freedom. They're like, you want to give a little bit of expand on your opinion here on what you have to say about this gender transition procedure foisting onto children and how it's a dangerous procedure. And yeah, ADF did not give back with the NPR. And oh, and by the way, the Heritage Foundation. Do you know who the Heritage Foundation is? Who they are? They're a very powerful political group. They underwrite the Republican policies. Think about it. Have you heard of policy, or well, it is a policy of Project 2025? Project 2025 is the platform for the Republican Party, and it's being rolled out as such. And this Project 2025 was authored by the Heritage Foundation. It's something like 900 pages, almost 900 pages of how they think if President Trump gets elected, he should run things. And oh my goodness, the Heritage Foundation has some harsh and wild ideas about how our country should be run. And transgender people aren't pretty much involved in this. They want to exclude and isolate transgender children from schools. They want to make it so transgender children do not have a safe place at school. They want to make sure that if a transgender child is unsafe at home, they will also be unsafe at school. They're making sure that there is no protections for transgender children. They are writing that into law. If there's an abuse situation at home, there's going to be no protection for transgender children if Project 2025 goes into effect. And that is just a tip of the iceberg of the attack that Project 2025 has on transgender children and, most people. But it's very harsh on transgender children and transgender individuals. They want to turn these attacks that 25 states have done, and they want to make them to all 50 states. So that's what the Alliance for Defending Freedom and the Heritage Foundation organizations want to do. They want to increase this attack on the transgender youth and on transgender communities and on transgender individuals and on transgender rights. They want to erase us from society, and they're working hard to do this. And it is at the top of the list of their plans for Project 2025. It doesn't take much reading to find out right away how harshly they are attacking transgender individuals and groups in that. But I digress. Okay, and in addition to ADF and the Heritage Foundation, another group that's attacking the transgender children and transgender communities is American Principles Project. For the American Principles Project, the ban represents, and I'm going to quote them, efforts to rein in the predatory transgender industry, close quote. So, yeah, nothing has changed. These claims and the speed at which lawmakers have acted on them mystifies Dr. Cade Gottfried, Chief Education Officer and Medical Director of the Children's Minnesota's Gender Health Program. There's no new way that we are approaching this care. There's no new medications that we're using. There was no new groundbreaking research study that came out. Nothing has changed. That is a direct quote from the doctor. Nothing has changed. Gender-affirming care has become more standardized. It is not experimental. You can't have a medication that has been in circuit out being used as a medication for 30 some years and call it experimental. That's not what experimental medication means. This is just, oof, no. Healthcare for transgender children is standardized in the United States. It's not experimental. So nothing has changed, but there still is an attack on transgender children. All major U.S. medical organizations, including the American Medical Associations, the American Academy of Pediatrics, the Endocrine Society, and the American Psychological Association, support gender-affirming care as safe and necessary. All of those organizations, safe and necessary. WPAP, standardized, safe and necessary. The only groups that are attacking and saying that is experimental and it is not safe are biased, hateful groups who are attacking and have an agenda to attack transgender children for existing. Look at the groups and look at their record for how they treat transgender children. They all attack them. So frustrating. Well, it looks like we have a lot of work ahead of us. But we will prevail. Human rights will prevail. They have to, right? Have to. We have to fight against atrocities in this country, both socially and legally. So we have a big road ahead of us and a long hill to climb, but we will get there. We will be pulled back into the margins of society where we belong. Just because we are transgender people does not mean we are any less of a citizen than any other person within these United States. So we will get our rights back. I am going to leave you, as I always do, with this message. Love yourself, but more importantly, like yourself, and treat people the way they want to be treated. Bye-bye for now.